This is not just a TV show, this is an experience, and you are taken on a journey like no other. This is the epic, groundbreaking Twin Peaks.
There are certain tropes that echo and rebound all the way through Lynch's canon. There are things you can pick out of Eraserhead, there are elements of Dune, obviously Blue Velvet, and Twin Peaks was the kind of ultimate distillation or remix of those ideas.
Episode 8, Season 3 is the most beautiful piece of artwork, visual and audio artwork I've ever seen.
One of the joys of Twin Peaks is that we are still talking about it now and we are still learning from it every day.
Welcome, listeners, as I drive down this dark, diverse highway and pause to pick up John Aitken and Bob Fleming from Prog to Who. Trek this out and take your seats. We are on a journey of discovery into the imagery and mastery of Lynchian landscapes, the efflux of stories interwoven in a tapestry of films. This is the Lynch Mob.
So thank you listeners for tuning in. It's another Lynch Mob, and this one we're going to look at Twin Peaks. So this one might take a while, so grab yourself some coffee and some cherry pie. And this time as well, we've got a special guest. He's a host of the podcast of All of Time and Space. He's an author as well of a series of science fiction novels called Winter Hill, and is a fellow ginger. So I love him already. He's Iain Martin.
Oh.
Hello, everybody.
Well, hang on, Cliff. Like, you're ginger, Ian's ginger, Bob's ginger.
Yeah.
I'm feeling left out.
So you should, you dark-haired bastard.
Yeah. My kind are always being picked on. It's terrible.
Oh, God. I'll send you some hair in the post for you.
I don't think you've got much to spare, Cliff, so I'll stop you there.
Not from there, mate.
It would be cultural appropriation if you started wearing little ginger wigs. I think that would be really offensive. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
Don't mock our heritage.
Oh, that's it. It takes a lot in this heat. We suffer with words.
Although I went to Spa and went out with me brolly. even that shone through and burnt my skin.
So, Ian, you've heard one of our podcasts before of the Lynch Mob?
Yes, I heard. Did you do Firewalk with me? Is that the one
Yeah,
I heard?
yeah.
It was literally 6 days ago, so you'll forgive me if I've.
No problem.
It's all just gone straight out of my head. But I remember it being very kind of, free-flowing and fun and lively. So you guys do that, and I'll just sit here and say nothing.
Oh, brilliant.
Brilliant. It's been great having you on, Ian.
That's all a testament to the editing process. It wasn't actually. We were fighting all the way through.
Ian, do you remember watching it the first time round?
I do remember watching it first time around. I remember it really clearly, like it was yesterday. It wasn't yesterday, it was a fuck of a long time ago. But I can remember, I think it was on a Tuesday night at about 9 o'clock, and I'd be lying there in my bedroom, in bed, watching it. It would finish, and I'd be too scared to get out of bed and actually turn off the TV. Or turn off the light in case you-know-who climbed out from under the bed and got me. I was like 15 at the time. It's pathetic. And I'm still scared now.
But it was the type of viewing you had to watch, because the next day he was talking about it at school. He was like, have you seen that? Did you watch what was going on there? And it was also because he had a bit of titillation on it as well. So he was guaranteed most of the lads would be watching it.
It was very popular with the boys, wasn't it? There was something for literally everyone. There was Audrey Horne, and
Who's my favourite?
I suppose there was something for other people as well. I don't know, but yeah,
Log
oh
Lady.
boy,
And Log Lady, yeah. Other hot chicks on Twin Peaks, yeah.
Did you know Bob's caned it? He's caned season 1, 2, and 3 in less than 6 weeks.
I know, and that must be a very, very schizophrenic experience. I don't know.
It's been emotional. John, I spoke to John after I finished the last episode of season 3. I just went.
That was at about 12 o'clock at night you phoned. Or I phoned, was it?
Yeah, he phoned me. It was just, I didn't know how to feel. My head was fucked, like, obviously, after intensely watching this. But like I've said before, this podcast, I remember watching it with my mum. So I'd have been very young. I just remember she used to watch Twin Peaks. And like my mum watches, I want to say crap, like Coronation Street, Emmerdale, that kind of thing. But she always watched Twin Peaks. But she saw it on just the soap opera level, I think. Or she must have done anyway. She wouldn't have seen all the sort of metaphors and strange things in it. But all I remember is just the weird, dwarfy red sort of scenes, and that's it. And it was when you came on Prog to Who, Ian, and you said Twin Peaks, you take it with Joe Lister said Twin Peaks. People kept saying Twin Peaks. These two were right into all Twin Peaks and that. And I thought, well, there's got to be something in it. Because, these guys like the similar stuff to me. So I embarked. Oh, my God. And what a journey it has been. And, yeah, I've completed it. But I've started again already. And I've literally just done the pilot. I'm like, I can't believe I missed all this. Because you know the characters and everything now, don't you? You sort of... I've got through it. I've seen it. But now I can really go back and absorb it properly. And just, it's just... I can't believe from episode 1 to the end of season 3 how much correlates just in that one, just in the pilot. So it's just an absolute journey. Absolute journey.
Well,
I've loved it.
It's when you're watching this, it's not, I'm watching a TV program. It's an experience. You get to Fire Walk with me. We watched it after season 3 and watched that again when we did our podcast. And that made more sense after watching the entire season of season 3. And you're like, right, now I get a lot more of it now.
Well, exactly, because I watched season 3 after Firewalk. We did the Firewalk on me thing, and then it just made so much more. It meant so much more. It's just that now I sort of got my head around it a little bit, and watching people talk about their theories on YouTube and stuff, because no one's wrong. No one's wrong. Like we said before, with Lynch, it's your interpretation, and that's your personal thing. So,
yep, I'd agree. Now, like my situation was slightly different because I have some vague memories of watching Twin Peaks back when I was in my teens or whatever, and it was not something I paid much attention to. I didn't engage with it in any way particularly. I just was aware of it and had seen it occasionally. But it was a friend of mine that told me that Twin Peaks season 3 was starting in 2017, and I thought, well, I'll start with that then. So my route into Twin Peaks was like season 3. So I watched the first couple of season 3s, utterly baffled. But because I was watching them as they came out week by week, as soon as I finished episode 2, I think, I went and watched all of Twin Peaks season 1 and 2, in between the next up and coming episodes. And then got more and more involved in theorising and as I watched the old stuff, working stuff out. And it was quite an intense period. So from there, obviously, I went to watch Fire Walk with me, and I've watched each of them numerous times now.
Yeah,
it's not. There's nothing that's engaged me in quite the same way in a long, long time.
Yeah, it's special.
It's very special.
It has that you can keep watching it, like you said, Bob. You started it again.
I think for me on a base level, the characters are amazing. Like I love the way you love what he's done with the characters. I think they're all very rounded. They're all brilliantly, cast. And I think. See, when he leaves, when it's all revealed, the Laura Palmer killer, and then you've got a lot of season 3, which is it's not Twin Peaks, but it's trying to be Twin Peaks. But the thing that holds that together, the thing that still makes it watchable, even though it lost its Lynchianness, is the cast, the characters, who are so rounded and brilliant and know what they're doing by this point, that they do carry it on, to a degree. Yes, it's not quite as good, but they do carry it on. So that on a sort of just a normal sort of level is, I think, quite a brilliant thing to Twin Peaks. Because the characters are, quirky and they're really well thought out, and he knows what he wants from them. He knows how he wants them to look, and I just think they're great. So that's like just a basic level kind of thing.
Ian, do you have any theories on it?
Well, I mean, so there's a couple of things. What to talk to your point about the arm and things cropping up in Eraserhead. There are certain tropes that echo and rebound all the way through Lynch's canon. There are things you can pick out of Eraserhead. There are elements of Dune, obviously Blue Velvet, and Twin Peaks was the kind of ultimate distillation or remix of those ideas. He likes his beautiful women in danger. There's always a beautiful woman in danger in David Lynch's work. And there's always twins and people with similar names, doppelgangers, bizarre dream sequence type stuff. But that is only half of it. And the person whose name never gets talked about enough is Mark Frost, because it was Mark Frost who brought the kind of that kind of top layer, which people say, it was like a 1950s soap opera. He absolutely made that and did that and kept that honest and kept it genuine. And then you had David Lynch kind of running around in the background trying to subvert all of this good work by making his bits as weird as possible. And that, I think, was where the real genius of those first two series came in. And that's also where I personally was less involved with Twin Peaks: The Return as a fan. It worked less well for me because I just don't feel like Mark Frost was involved at any level. And if you watch the extra features, you can see lots of clips of David Lynch, in the middle of a desert or in a bar, and he's talking to a member of the cast, and he's going, "Kyle, you come in here, and you look over there, and there's a girl," and that's great, but he's obviously not following what you or I would call a script at this point. So season 3, The Return, for me, just kind of follows on from Firewalk with Me as very much a different thing to the first two series. And I suppose specifically the best person to ask is Bob, having just watched all three of them for the first time back to back. How jarring was that jump to The Return?
Oh, for me, it wasn't. It did feel like a continuation to a degree. Yes, it lost the element of the soap opera, which is what Mark Frost was very good at, and wrote these soap operas outside of this. It just was. It was a lot more visual and beautiful. Not that the original series wasn't. And yeah, there was a lot more to think about, a lot more sort of going on, things to refer to, and it felt like how to describe it. So you have the reveal of Laura Palmer's killer, which Lynch never wanted, because he was right in saying that, because the beauty of Twin Peaks is it starts with one murder, and it's getting to know the family, the people that are associated with this one, not quirky, this one girl. And that's the fascinating thing. Hence, I was saying before about the characters and things like that. You get all this time to breathe, you get the time to see them, you get the association with them, and then after it's revealed, you lose that mystery. It sort of becomes about Cooper and his investigation. He's being investigated by the FBI and all that kind of thing. And then you get the final episode of season 2, and you're left with like when he headbutts the mirror and it's Bob, and then you sort of left like, what the fuck? How can I wait? Luckily, I'd have to wait 25 years. I can put the next disc on.
Trust me, that was a long 25 years to wait. My God.
Because even when you watch Fire Walk with Me, you still don't get the answers as such in there. No. Not that people always will watch television. I think that's the point of it, and look for answers and look for exposition and look to have things on the plate. And that's obviously not what Lynch offers. And I think the metaphor throughout it, and especially series 3, feels like kind of not a fuck you, but like. These are for all the whinging bastards who slagged off Fire Walk with Me. These are for the people that made me reveal Laura Palmer's thing. And I'm going to give you all this. And then kind of at the end, I'm going to peter it out to make you even more mad. To them people. But to everyone
an element of that, certainly. But I think in addition to that, there is a genuine comment about the state of television against
absolutely.
In seasons 1 and 2, which would have been, 89, 90, 91, that kind of time.
Yeah.
TV, the idea of like junk TV was your Dinnes's, your Dallases, and your Falcon's Crest and stuff like that, and that's the reason that you get that sort of overacted. There's a bunch of love triangles all over the place. It's a mess. It doesn't make any sense, a lot of it. But in season 3, it's not reflecting 1990s TV anymore. It's reflecting 17's TV now, which means ultra-violence and all that sort of stuff. And so that's what we get instead. So rather than it being a fuck you, which in one sense it is, I'm sure.
I don't mean to fuck you. I mean, it's like he bringing back what he wanted to do, you know.
Yeah, no, he's also commented, that's probably why it's called The Return and not like season 3. Because he's commented on the fact that we are demanding more of this stuff. And it's worked eventually, but you'll get what you are given after 25 years. And you're wanting more and more stuff has got to have a price. And the price was also laid into that by Lynch, I think, and Frost. Yeah. I think Frost had quite a bit to do with Lynch's. They do discuss a lot between themselves. They weren't like it wasn't dictatorial. It was more of a 50-50 partnership, as Lynch sort of says. And Mark Frost he was the glue that connected all these big ideas. He wasn't passive in season 3 as much as he's certainly not famed as much as Lynch in season 3, but I think he was also essential in also providing more of that connective tissue that makes the whole thing work. And so one of the joys of Twin Peaks is that we are still talking about it now, and we are still learning from it every day. Yesterday, I sent you guys a picture of the convenience store from Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah,
you did.
And it was just a picture. It was a still because I've been doing this vid thing. And I looked at it and thought, that is just all the film crew around the scene. And all of a sudden, then that must mean that those characters mean that. The guy standing on a box with the white nose and holding a twig, he's doing something. And then you've got Bob, which is all these elements. And I've dived deep into.
You've gone well deep, haven't you?
I've gone through as many videos as I possibly can, and yet this I've not heard before, and it's like not like as if like I've found something new, but I'm sure somebody has worked it out. But it just every time you watch it, every time you think about it, I haven't watched it for weeks, and I'm still thinking about it, and
I think
one of the stuff.
I think one of the things, like I was after watching some of these reviews and people's versions of it, this whole metaphor for TV. There's obviously a bitterness with not a bitterness. Well, I'm going to say a bitterness with Lynch that the ABC made him reveal, the killer. Obviously that's a bone of contention. And I think it's little things like Norma went with her new fella who's wanting to make this big franchise of the diner, and then eventually she stands up and says, "No, I want this," and just love with Ed because her diner's not doing the best because she's not just giving it, making this whole model. It's all done with kind of love, and I think that's a big overall arcing theme. And I thought just a little scene like that, and then after just thinking about it, it just pops in your head, and you're like, "Oh, it's probably what that kind of has that thing to."
I mean, the interference from studios is something that he learned about on Dune, and he's been very firm. He'll advise anybody, any artist, that don't let them take any of it away from you. Get Final Cut, so that what you produce is your art, is your product, rather than some product of somebody who maybe is very good at being in a business, but doesn't necessarily know fuck all about art in terms of like what the artist is doing. And that cheapens what you get out at the end of it. He's learnt from that, and he won't do it again. And so, I think
one of the things that just made me laugh when I started watching season 3 and I spoke to John, when the log lady came on, it was always ace to see her because I think it's a brilliant character she's always played it brilliantly well. But the log was bigger, so it had grown over that 25-year period because trees grow slow. I was like, oh my God, he's even made the log bigger. So it's grown in that 25 years, just daft stuff like that. Like, you have to really think about shit like that, to sort of do that. And the log is definitely bigger. It was a baby sort of log, and now it's a big boy log. Big boy log, wow. Genius, Bob.
Maybe in the intervening 25 years, she married again, and that husband also burned to death. And so he's got a different log, which is bigger. Otherwise, I don't know that they grow, but then again, I don't know that wardrobe handles twist themselves into the face of Josie.
I just sort of mean like, it's a log, it's taken apart from the tree. There's still life in the log because she gets her information from the log. And for me, I personally think he's thought that much about this log and made it bigger. It's grown in time.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that, because I think the Log Lady is very much the heart and soul of Twin Peaks, and I think her part is very important. So when she comes back 25 years later, the value of Twin Peaks is increased exponentially anyway, because there's more fans and people want it, and this is their time again. And so, yeah. And
Oh my God,
everything's metaphor in this film, so why not that as well?
But it made me cry when the Log Lady went, because you obviously said she was ill, and you can see that in season 3, and when she when it was sort of passed, I literally was in bits, like, because I've got to love her very much. It's like on the DVDs or whatever, it says, "Do you want to watch the Log Lady intro?" They ask you to do it. I was like, "Of course I do," and I just love. I need to get this sort of relationship with her. How she's described the episode, all these clues that she's giving you, and I just think it's a lovely and genius character.
Well, I watched that along with John. We watched it together on there, and I was filling up.
Holding hands, we were. Holding hands.
Holding virtual hands, it was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was very upsetting, that one. And again, to me, I know what you said before, Ian, like the first two, as the difference with Matt. But with the third one, for me, sort of had everything I loved what was in the first two. The first two, for me, I liked the craziness, I liked the quirkiness. And then from then on, when I was growing up, got to about 18, 19, I saw Radiohead for the first time, I saw Blue Velvet. I then started collecting silent movies. And I go all the way back to some German surreal movies from the 1920s and earlier than that. So the third season for me had everything I really loved from the first two. The first two, with regards to the over-the-top melodramas and the over-the-top acting, I could take it or leave it. I just thought it was like, all right, no problem. I was hunting for when the wild bit would come up, the craziness of it would come up. That was me. That had me going more than anything of it. So the last season felt to me, so like Bob says, like, David Lynch got the money, and more or less, you could tell it, nobody told him what to do. It was more or less, I want to do it, and this is me.
Yeah.
And that felt to me perfect, to the point where it was probably the only TV programme which I filled up twice. I was so upset. It's brilliant.
I mean, I'm gonna get the cat out of the bag. Episode 8, season 3.
Yes,
is the most beautiful piece of artwork, visual and audio artwork I've ever seen I had in my ears and in my eyes. It was just stunning, because you guys were saying, like, episode 8, and it sort of starts, I think, with Mr. C, and it's sort of meandering along and keeps trying to get out, and then it goes through this whole thing, and you're just like, it's just stunningly beautiful, but gives you so much. So you've got the mother, letting out this evil or whatever it is, the balance, and then the fireman sends the balance in the form of Laura Palmer from the pitch, from the cinema, from the theatre, and it feels like the mother's, like, I don't know, like you were saying, you're saying TV, it's the evil of shitty instantaneous crap TV, but you don't I didn't kind of think of any of that. I just watched it and listened to it, and I was just like, fucking hell, I've never seen anything like this. Anything or heard anything like that. The Woodman, fucking hell, they're the scariest. Like, I thought Bob was scary. The Woodman, oh my God, they're another level of freaky creepiness. And that whole bit when he goes into the radio studio, God, and it's the thing of repetition as well. Because you tend to get used to repetition or something you've done and done. Like when I was 13, I had my first whiskey. He nearly killed me. But you get used to a whiskey, don't you? Like your first cigarette. Whereas this, you don't get used to it. The more the repetition works, the more it's sort of repeated, the more it gets scarier and more intense. It's just, I've never seen anything like this on television. Anything as beautiful or as awesome and scary and everything. And like I say, I had my headphones on for this one. Poof, I just thought, it's so unique.
Yeah, it was all right.
It was all right.
Yeah, episode 8, I couldn't stop myself from saying, Bob, you've got to watch it, and you've got to watch it for episode 8, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a joy to watch something that absorbs you absolutely into it. You can't help. You just like, you get tunnel vision. You see the entire screen. And you're seeing images that, I mean, The Woodsman, yeah, crazy. The White Sands explosion was just for me that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, the bit, and then the bit following with the Woodsman at the convenience store. That epitomises what I want to see, and I could just watch it every day of my life, and I think it's all to do with transcendental meditation, apparently. So.
Oh right, okay. I mean, the whole thing with the sea as well, the sea to the fireman's house or whatever it is, the theatre. I mean, it's just the visual is just so stunning. All I thought when I was watching that element of it was I wished that they made Doctor Who like this. They sort of went down this more surreal, awesome route. I don't mean the scripted thing, but the visuals. It's just, you could take this into Doctor Who or something like that and it would look amazing and give it another level and layer, which I think Doctor Who is best. And sorry to distract from that, but it's best. It has things where you can go back and watch it and think about it, like Ghostlight and stuff like that. And I just thought, please, David Lynch, be the next showrunner of Doctor Who.
If that fucking happens, I will.
I think Carl McLaughlin will be playing Doctor Who. That's for sure.
Would he?
He would be a fantastic Doctor.
Would he be playing like the Doctor, like Dougie Jones, or more like Mr. C?
Please
well,
be
Dougie Jones.
I'd like to think Agent Cooper. It would be an excellent Doctor because he's inquisitive, a little bit old ball,
worky.
Davros, you're all right.
Well, he can have his dictaphone as his assistant. That's all he'd need. Yeah. It'd be amazing.
Be a sonic dictaphone.
I mean, talking of Dougie Jones, it was one of the things that I really, really enjoyed, and I think there's always that little bit in you. I think this was intentional that because you love Coop, you love the Agent Cooper, and obviously you don't see him for the most of season 3. But there's something I just really adored about everyone getting on board with Dougie Jones. And I think it's something, and my thing in my head was, and whether it's right or wrong, it's what I was perceiving, was the more you say nothing in life and just get on. And other than that, all the big look element, the love element, and the way he's gone from this big fat, like, just horrible bastard to this guy that just saunters around, and he's still got an element of Coop in him. But just what's sauntering through life and everything happens to him. I don't know. I found it really fascinating.
That kind of links back to what you were just saying about how television now is more bland and the studio system is more bland, and what Dougie represents is that kind of pen-pushing middle management. I know about business, but I don't know about art, and I'm just going to not buck the system and just get by and be successful. In sort of stark contrast with David Lynch saying, no, I'm going to make a fuck-off great big work of art and you're going to bow down before me. And we'll see ultimately what proves the more popular, season 8 of Game of Thrones or the return of Twin Peaks. It was
exactly.
But I mean, I don't want my contribution to be having a pop at the return, but it is. So the Woodman, who obviously, yes, they were very scary. Do we think they work for Bob, or Bob works for them, or is there some kind of connection?
Well,
shit. I've got an idea, but I'm not sure it's right, though. That's the thing.
Well, it's as right as any other opinion. So
yeah,
exactly.
Well, I'm not sure if because I think the Woodsmen were part of the things that were spewed out of the mother in episode 8, and them little seeds grew to like be frog moths or woodsmen or various things, and they're just the spirits of they're the negative energy that populates TV and the negative stuff. As is Bob. I don't know whether Bob was born of the mother or slipped in while she was doing her birthing thing because he looks so different. So I think he's an entirely different malevolent thing. He's like one of the things that came in 1945, but he wasn't. But they weren't affiliated. But they're both on the side of evil, so they are, by dint of association, like kind of collaborative. And I think that's why, because I think Bob has an agenda that is different from like Judy's, if that creature is indeed Judy.
Well,
We'll come to Judy.
I was going to say, but I think, my perception is, and then going back and watching the pilot, is everything is balance, but not balance as in black and white, good versus evil. There's a lot more to it than that, which is done by characterization, metaphor, scripts, whatever it is. But for example, in the pilot, you've got two donuts on top of each other. The infinity circle, which comes back again, doppelganger. Bad versus good, and the woodman. In that scene where Mr. C gets killed, and they make it more graphic and gross. Again, it's coming back to where TV is now. People find that acceptable, and that's what they want to see. They want to see the bad shit and the horrible shit and all that stuff. They don't want to see Dougie. Hello, I'm Dougie. Coffee. Like the kind of. But that's kind of, you get the two sides, which gives you one. It adds mystery, and what makes you want to watch more and understand. But you get both sides, so you get a rest. It's nice to see love and good, to take away from seeing a scene like the Woodman, bringing Coop back to life by making him more disgusting and Mr. C more disgusting with all the, blood and rubbing it all over him and all that to bring him back to life. And he gives you that sort of just, I'm going to say, respite, because it is grim, it is graphic, but that's why I think when you're saying that the tone has changed 25 years ago, yes, the tone of TV and film has changed dramatically. Yeah.
I mean, that is a really good point that I hadn't actually thought until you said it, but, yes, the early series were reflecting the television culture of the late 80s, early 90s, which was this kind of very disposable, heightened, ridiculous. I mean, Invitation to Love basically is saying, look how shit American TV is. Here we are in 1989, and if there'd been an equivalent in The Return, it would have been just some kind of horrific, cyberpunky, semi-pornographic, uber-violent horror. And that is a really good point, and I now want to go away and think about that and write that little mini series. Invitation to Love 2017.
But I think it was said at the time when I think the whole Laura Palmer thing was based on this real life story about this girl who was really good, like she was did all the good things that you're meant to do, and then there was a dark side to her, and the mystery of her murder was never solved, and it was just a story that Mark Frost read and then started talking about it. I think that was in New York, so they're going to put it in this Twin Peaks scenario and all that, and it just stemmed from there, and it stemmed from, like I said, this mystery of this girl that was never discovered.
See, that's the thing. I think we had the mystery of this murder that was solved, and thus that kind of broke what Twin Peaks was meant to be all about. And in The Return, we get that gets fixed over 18 episodes. So we no longer have a dead Laura to find out who killed her, but we have a missing Laura, because that dead body never turned up. So we've basically bandaged over the faults that were implemented in season 2, and we've now got another mystery, because that was what Lynch kind of wanted all along. And yet, each of these things, I say, like, there's many levels above and below them. So that also means something else. There'll be another reason why there'll be a reason why all the Dougie Jones stuff is set in Las Vegas, and it looks very seedy. Is in like streets that have hardly any cars and no people there. You go inside the houses, there's no decorations, there's none of that, because it's just a facade. It's just like, and that also means stuff about America, as well as meaning stuff about modern TV. Like, I'm sure it's referencing Breaking Bad at some point as well, but I don't know. There's just so much joy to be brought from just some TV show.
I'm just going to write down every word you say, because this is all really brilliant stuff that I've never thought of.
You're going to nick it. Nick it. Nice.
There's like I said, there's loads of good stuff on YouTube that we've been watching, and you can then take what you want from the review and what your opinions are. And I love that, because it puts a bit of more meat on the bones for you, and maybe gives you something you've not thought about before. Then it gives you something else to think about that you, like I say, when that thing popped up about Norma and her new bloke, who's basically he's the studio, he's the money man. That's all he gives a shit about. And it's lovely little things like that just pop up, from someone saying something. It's
but he's also, as well as being a sort of a proxy for the studio, he's also a proxy for corporate America and franchising. Exactly, and so he's a kind of it's there's many layers of commentary for each little bit. I don't know how he wrote. Well, this is like it took him 4.5 years to write, innit? Really?
Yeah. I mean, how badass did Big Ed look though? Like in this, he looks in season 3, and he's badass. He's out. He's cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
He looks mega, doesn't he? Like,
that scene, and I don't want this to be just season 3 stuff because, we built up season 3, season 1 and 2. We built up the Ed and Norma, the romance that cannot be expressed, and we lost that a little bit in season 2. But Lynch fixed it before the end. And in season 3, I think it's episode 15 or is it 16, we get the most beautiful resolution to all that waiting for 25 years. I'm not afraid to admit it. Tears in my eyes watching that.
Yeah.
When you've got it's the same music from, I've got the music. Oh, it's Reading, is it? I can't remember. But the music just there and he's there and they turn and it's just fucking beautiful.
Well, because it's the lovely thing about it is it's Nadine. She for the first time, she's not had a bash on the head and she's seeing clearly, and it's her. And she's saying, "Ed, I'm really sorry that I've done this to you for 25 years. Go to her, be happy." And then to combine that with Norma saying to the fella, "This is not what I want. I just want to be in this diner. This is what makes me happy." Yeah. And then it's just the joy that the other parties are sort of they're happy. Then you've got the happiness.
It's a fantastic example of if you're going to have closure and have something, a happy ending and that sort of thing, there are ways to do it. And I think Lynch has managed to be very lucky in finding a way that he could do it and have the 25-year story. A 25-year wait for a resolution to that love story is not one that's a cheap giveaway. That is an extremely expensive giveaway. And he's giving the audience that. And that... I mean, episode 15, 16 and 17 are payoffs for the people that have waited and loved it and all that sort of stuff and all that sort of stuff. 18 is Lynch's payoff. It's his resolution, how he wants it, in order to leave it slightly ambiguous as fucking always.
But the reason for the long wait as well is to show the people who are watching Twin Peaks that it's a cycle of life. That needed to happen because that had a cascading effect to her daughter, who again had mixed up relationships, and again in season 3 when you see her daughter who's in
it's infinity.
Exactly, it's constantly happens, and I think that's one of the reasons he wanted to show you, because that part in the diner, like you said, then John, that it's an upsetting scene, but you can also see a little light within her daughter. Then at that point, watching it, thinking, "Oh, that's how life's supposed to be." And you take that one element, that's just part of a story, which would be ongoing.
Yeah, the Twin Peaks element in season 3, the Bobby, and as you say, Becky and Stephen, and just generally shit. And there's a scene on there where there's a gunshot at the diner, and everybody piles outside, and Bobby's there trying to sort it out. And it's the fucking one of those Lynch scenes, like the car pulling up at Leland in Fire Walk with Me. It's that scene where the woman's beating on the horn, and as soon as she stops beating on the horn, she starts screaming to the sound of the horn.
Yeah,
it's like the kid next to her is like some exorcist hell.
Yeah,
the youth of today, everybody's sick. There's loads of this, like the modern Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Is not what we wanted because we're still looking for nostalgia and we're not getting it. We're getting a rebirth in modern times.
I was going to say that is modern America, and the same applies to the original 2 seasons. It's showing you, America or whatever's perceived to be America at that time, or people in general. And I think Nadine and Ed are a sort of good example of that, because you have. So if you explain their situation, or you see it on TV, you're like, "Fuck, I can't believe that." She's gone and then got off with young Mike, and he, doing all these awesome sex acts on him, apparently, according to Mike. That you sort of see it, and you can't believe it's over dramatized. Now, real life, them things happen, but you kind of you get used to them. you see what I mean? It's like when you're in a certain situation, it becomes normal because you're in that situation. Whereas when you see it or you're watching it, it's fucking bizarre. I'll give you an example. When my house got flooded in York in the floods a few years ago, like if I'd have seen that on the telly, I'd be like, fuck, oh my God, that's awful. When you're in it, it's a different thing. And I think that's how the cast play, or he directs it beautifully, is that it's all right. You know, Norma and Ed, they're all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of all the people that surround this madness. They're not like reacting as you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because they're in it. I just think that he really does understand. There's metaphors or whatever in there. Psychological thing of people.
Yeah.
You know, like it really goes to town on that element of stuff. Throughout the whole thing, I think he's just great, isn't he? Hey, David Lynch, he's all right, him.
He's all right.
So we're going to talk about Judy, or we don't want to talk about Judy?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, we're not going to talk about Judy at all.
That's way too good an accent for that. That's way too good an accent, Ian.
Sorry, I won't do it again.
well,
Oh dear.
What?
Judy.
What? So, I'm Laura Palmer. My dad, it turns out, is possessed by some demonic inhabiting spirit. And while this is going on, my mother is also possessed by something completely different. Eh?
It's the darkness and the light. It's the balance. I mean, it goes back to the darkness and the light. It's the balance, and that's.
So-
I think that. Sorry, John. Go on.
No, carry on, man.
No, I'm just like literally. What I'm saying is, it's the balance between light and dark, or whatever it is. Hence, you have the spawn of evil, and the fireman, sends Laura Palmer as the golden egg. It's all about balancing.
I suppose it does balance in the early part. You've got Leland, who is possessed by darkness, and in the the more recent stuff, you've got his wife who is also possessed. And so you're right, it does work in that Lynchian mirror doppelganger kind of way. And my greatest problem is trying to apply a logical plot-based reading of the text to something where it doesn't work.
I think there is one. See, I'm not entirely certain that Judy is possessing Sarah Palmer.
Right.
But I think, and this is just going off, there's a scene where she takes her face off.
Yeah.
And you see Laura's smile. You remember when you see the bad Laura, the doppelganger Laura, in the Black Lodge?
Yep.
All screaming and nuts. And I think Sarah Palmer is possessed by Laura's doppelganger, not Judy. But I think, all the black people, all the black characters in, because she shows a blackened spirit finger, doesn't she, as well? When she holds up, when he opens the mask, and there's a hand there.
That's right.
It's Laura's hand that would have had the ring on, but it's got a black spirit finger and it's got Laura's smile. So how can that be anything but at this point?
Well, maybe I'll have to go back and watch that again. Damn, you've persuaded me.
I mean, one theory that worked for me, because I left the last, because I power watched this, so obviously didn't take everything I could, was a theory that Judy is basically kind of the fuck you. So Mr. C, he wants Judy. He wants to know who she is.
Does he want to join her, or does he want to challenge her?
No, I think he's the TV audience, the horrible TV audience that wanted the resolution of Laura Palmer, and Judy is
greed,
that horrible. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes, but also there's another level as well.
Yeah,
with all of it. So there's different plot. You can interpret it in a number of ways, and I think they're all right. Like Judy, on the level of concept, is that what you've just said, but on the level of plot and the level of the TV show, she's also something else. So it's not. There's nothing cut and dried about it. I'm afraid.
I'm just saying that it's one of the theories that I thought, wow, that's fucking clever. Because I got to the end, I was like, who the fuck's Judy? As we're discussing now, who the fuck's Judy? Yeah. But then when that was quite a rational thought process of like, if all the evil and bad stuff is the TV and the good is the theatre, or art or whatever he's trying to put across, that it's great that you got this searching for Judy, but you never really know who Judy is. But the bad guy wants it real bad. That's what I like about it. Because it's not Dougie Jones that wants it real bad. The good, the whatever, just get the love and the good. They don't care. It's the bad. They want to know who Judy is.
But I think that's the two birds with one stone, isn't it? That the fireman and Coop's plan involves capturing his doppelganger, stopping him from getting to see Judy, and also trapping Judy in whatever way. I mean, everything that happens in the last episode after he tries to go back in time, and Mike sends him back in time with his electricity. Everything that happens after that is otherworldly insofar as it's not part of Twin Peaks. Almost, it is part of Twin Peaks, obviously, literally, but it also isn't Twin Peaks. And I think we've crossed a barrier when he walked through that door underneath the hotel. We passed a barrier, and it was into a place that he didn't know and he couldn't control. Like it occurred to me last night as well that the convenience room, if the convenience store and the room above it where Mike's meeting Bob are over the table and there's all those weird creatures there, and it's kind of actually a representation of the actual TV itself. It occurred to me that, like, I might have forgotten what I was about to say.
Oh no! Because that was such a crescendo you were building to.
It was good.
I was like, this is like when Bob was speaking and you guys speaking, an idea was coming to me and I was like grasping for it and I had to say it, but by the time I explained it, it had fucking gone. It'll come back to me.
Well, maybe.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I've got it. Fuck, sorry, shit. Yeah, so it has to do with David Bowie's character and what he does. He goes to the convenience store. Now, the convenience store is the actual studio where they're filming, metaphorically, where they're filming the show, and that's TV. And so a character in TV has gone there and crossed the fourth wall, as it were. Yeah. And as a result, all shit's gone to hell for Philip Jeffries, and he
turns
comes back
into
and
a
he
kettle.
doesn't know. He just and eventually he turns into a But that's what Dale Cooper is also trying to do. He's trying to do everything that Philip Jeffries has tried to do. So the same thing is happening to Coop that happened to Philip Jeffries, and that's why Philip Jeffries is part of the plan as well. And and when he goes to, if he wants to get to the convenience store and things like that, and you got the negative characters like Mr. Coop that can go there. It's just it's a bit fucking much. What I'll have to do is I'll have to do a podcast just on this one fucking idea I've got, but I can't quite express properly.
Give yourself 20 years and then
warm.
write a 17-part TV show about it, and you'll probably...
I'd love it.
You'll get there. So, can I circle back to... Because we've kind of mainly talked about Series 3, which I guess is my fault. But having recently rewatched Series 1 and mainly Series 2, I just wanted to ask what everyone's favourite cliffhanger is. Because Season 2, for me, was just a run of astonishing cliffhangers.
I think Season 1 cliffhanger was pure Twin Peaks soap opera ending. And the Season 2 one is pure Lynchian weirdness version of a cliffhanger. The first one was great. I loved it going into Season 2 and like Dale's just lying on the floor like no time has passed. I thought it was quite cool. And then we've got another mystery for Season 2 of who shot Dale Cooper and who shot JR style.
Yeah.
And it's but yeah, Season 2 is a better cliffhanger by far.
Well, just and each individual episode as well. I mean, where you've got they're interviewing Philip Gerard, and he's going the Great Northern Hotel, and you know you're like one episode away from finding out who it is, and you know where they are right now. And that to me was just so exciting. But then you've got Leo waking up and attacking everyone with his axe, and then disappearing through the polythene, and just so much of it. You know, it was just.
Well, that's what kept me kept with Season 2 when it sort of changed. You know, that's what I really enjoyed. The aspect of the characters were still there and were being developed, But yeah, the whole thing of the American TV show of come back next week, come back next week, come back next week, and there was just loads of them, and it got daft. You know, when you've got Ben Horn becoming this crazy like Confederate dude, and
we don't talk about that.
You know, but he goes to town and it's all right. I mean, I do love Jerry. Jerry Horn he's super quirky and cool, and I think as well in series 3 becomes this sort of like massive hippie crazy dude or whatever, and that bit when he's like trying to move his feet aren't mine and things like that. I think he sort of represents the people that, not saying understand, the people that have sort of gone, you know, they're not there, they don't get it, they're in another sort of place. I think Jerry Horn he's just a cool character.
Do we get any cliffhangers in season 3? Can you think of any? Like an episode ending that like is like
it's always someone on stage in the Roadhouse, isn't it?
Which I love that, because you kind of you got a showcase for various bands, but also in the Roadhouse, which you've kind of always had to a degree, is that you've got lyrics in the songs that they're singing, and the bands that get on a race, like Eddie Vedder was on there, 9 Inch Nails, and it's just, but you get to hear a whole song to the end. So it'll start, you'll have a little scene with people that we don't really know and things like that, talking about a certain subject, trash TV kind of talk or whatever. And then I love that. When I text these lads, I said, you know, this is class. At the end, you get a showcase for a band, because Lynch has got a guy who's a music agent who says if he gets a decent act, he'll always pass him their way, his way, like the girl that sings the song. That beautiful song, "Crying" in Mulholland Drive.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name, but she's in this as well.
Rebecca Doria.
Yes, that's the lady. You know, it gets people like that, and I mean, imagine like being asked to be on Twin Peaks. It'd be incredible. Yeah. And you know, in the Roadhouse, playing in the Roadhouse, amazing.
Do any of you guys follow UFC fighting thing? You know, Michael Bisping.
Yeah, he was
the English UFC fighter. He was security guard in Twin Peaks 3, and he was. I read an interview where he said it was just, he got only his lines sent to him. He got nothing else.
Yeah.
He had no context of what was happening. And he said you have to look this way. You need to be menacing, but placid, and all that sort of thing. And it was very interesting. Like just a guy sitting there at a desk, and Lynch is already trying to work out what he means.
They all got that though. They all got their lines, because I saw a Comic Con on the extras or whatever, and the new cast and some of the old cast with the new cast were on there, and they all said they got their own lines. I think maybe Kyle got a bit more, because he had more of a discussion, but the rest of them just got their lines. So as they're watching the series go out every week, at the point where Comic Con was, they were on episode 10. That's where they got to. So that's the only bit they knew up to. I mean, that's class. As an actor as well, you have to go back and watch. You're not watching your performance. You're watching to find out what the fuck context you were in.
Yeah. But it probably does that for a few reasons of not wanting leakages. I mean, this is Twin Peaks season 3, the final one. And what's worse since season 1 and 2 is you've got the internet and everything gets leaked out. And that's a real shame, isn't it? That things like that happen. So it's probably a part of him is paranoia of things getting leaked out. Going back to what you said before here about the cliffhangers of season 2, is I found there was so many intertwining cliffhangers, like with Bobby having his bit, and then everything gets summed up within the last 2 episodes of season 2 because David Lynch comes back. I really found it a struggle. Like, even though it was enjoyable as a melodrama, these cliffhangers, I found it was like, okay, no problem. I felt there was something missing all the way from them. I felt like they was written on purpose to keep people interested and following it on after the big reveal, which David didn't want. So even though they was enjoyable, like my auntie used to watch it, but she used to watch it similar to Bob's mum, who used to watch it for all the melodramas, and she'll be on it every week. What about that cliffhanger? And I was like, yeah, but it's missing a bit of weird. I love it weird. Throw it in. Where's the surreal bit? It's gone. And then within the last few episodes, you can tell someone's just come in and go, the knock on your head, you're done, finished, done. Bobby, that's wrapped up. That's finished, done. And you can see, and you're a writer yourself. Can you imagine you being asked within the last few episodes, get rid of that so it cleans it up?
It was the last desperate attempt to get it re-signed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
At the studio, but it failed.
Well, you have the whole thing as well, where you've got the is it El Cart or whatever, the two bad guys that come into it at the end. I think one's David Warner, is it?
Eckhart
like
and Andrew Packard. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just brought in as like baddies, super baddies,
just
but they've come from nowhere.
Rent a baddie.
Rent a baddie, yeah. Which, to be fair, the last episode he does a real good job with one of them. So that's pretty decent, like. But yeah, it's like baddie of the week kind of thing.
Well,
and Norma and Ed, they were fixed, weren't they? Because they shouldn't have been together.
Exactly.
So at the very last time, the very last opportunity, that's it. Another spanner is thrown into the works.
And that all happens within very much like a stage scene. Each part is very much like on the sound stage, isn't it? It's like you could have seen him just walk from one sound stage to the next and just summed everything up. And it's fast paced. If you watch anything of David Lynch from Mulholland Drive to Blue Velvet, he's slow paced. So he's literally had to go in on speed and get it all corrected, finished, exactly how he wanted to finish off with the mega cliffhanger of a cliffhanger for 25 years. The scene where he just nuts the mirror, and that's it. Now, if anything's got to try and get signing on for another season, that would have been it.
Imagine sticking 3 minutes of sweeping the fucking bar on that one. All right, I've got loads of this to do. Now I'll sweep the bar through. Stew in your juices.
But I literally, when Bob or Coop headbutted the mirror at the end of season 2, like, I was like, for that brief second, I forgot that I'd bought the rest of it. So I've got it, and I just was in that zone of, fucking hell, 25 years, you bastard. I was like, oh, it's fine. I've got it here, so I can crack on. It's cool.
It was, for those of us who did the waiting, it was like waiting for Chinese democracy all over again, but about twice as long, actually. My God, that was because I was lying there in bed watching it when I'm 15. I know it's the final episode. I think I already knew the show wasn't coming back for a third series. So as the episode builds to that climax, it's like irresistible, brilliant television and fantastic visual storytelling.
Yeah.
But for a thing to do to your audience, it was the most painful. You cannot end it like that kind of moment. And that, I suppose, is one of the things that has kept it alive and kept it in the hearts and minds of all fans for all this time, is that was such a wrench. We were dragged out of this world when we really weren't ready to be. And that's why the passion has kind of never gone away, I suppose.
Has there been any other TV show that could have... Because I know there's been a number of TV shows that have restarted after X amount of years. But has there ever been any that's returned with such a bang and in such a positive way? Because every other TV show I've seen where they've had a massive reunion of characters like 20 years older is shit. Without exception. And Twin Peaks manages to become that exception.
Yeah, so obviously Doctor Who coming back was quite successful, but that was more of a continuation. I don't know. Imagine if Firefly came back. That would be terrible.
Yes.
And it
old people in space.
Fat.
It'd be like the Star Trek films.
Yeah, it would. And Malcolm Reynolds would be about that fat now. I don't know if you've seen him in Castle or that preposterous show where he pretends to be a policeman, but my God, he's not a nimble.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've just watched that.
He's still a funny man. Still a funny man.
He's still great. But you're right. I don't think there is. There probably is an example. But I can't.
Doctor Who is an excellent example of one that has come back, but that is another one that has a massive fan support and a deep love for it.
And again, that wasn't really continuing actors returning.
No,
whereas
you're
right. When the cast,
the only way they snuck him in was people like Sarah Jane, because she's cool, and Tom Baker being a caretaker, and things like that. You can sneak him in, but you can't. You couldn't bring back Colin Baker.
Christ, no, the world does not deserve that. Oh,
But I mean, you've also got all the things to do with electricity, or that's a constant theme.
The
Coffee,
zigzag patterns and all
zigzag
that sort of
patterns,
stuff.
radio waves, the radio station. Oh, this is how. I mean, it's just we've not even scratched the surface. We've been, talking for an hour.
yeah.
It's like where there's just so
We've
much
not
content
even
to this.
mentioned Garmin Bozier yet,
Garvin Bossier, you're gonna have to explain that one to me.
The cream corn that the
Oh,
old people
yeah.
evil corn, which is all the pain and suffering that the bad people like Bob get up to. It's
But the corn snacks keep coming back, So when the assassins, the bad people again, Tim Roth and his girlfriend or whatever, they're eating corn snacks, instantaneous corn that people just chump in front of the TV dinners, that kind of thing. This instantaneous horrible food which goes with horrible nasty TV.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's gross to look at when he's eating it as well. Just because it's not meant to be nice. And when Coop throws it all up in the car, that's pretty gross as well.
yeah,
It's disgusting because he's trying.
really nauseous.
It's all disgusting.
He does like a good vomit, does Lynch? I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, don't we all?
But a proper vomit as well. There's no into a bin. You can't say anything. It's like full puke.
Yeah, well, one of his first short films was called Six Men Vomiting. It's just six men vomiting out of a picture, which looks quite surreal. You don't see them vomit. It's just like pictures going
It's
through.
a documentary about a night out in Colchester.
Yeah. I'll have to go Colchester.
There's an X-rated
Sounds
version
nice.
from a night out in Salford.
Yeah.
So I'm going to come back to the electricity thing, I think. So you've got all this, the pylons, all that kind of stuff, the wires, the radio station, the transmission, harking to TV. Is that what we're thinking, or that's the sort of vibe?
Yeah,
for the
I
television?
think that's the connection to everything. Is the radio waves? Everything goes across the wave. And if you look in that episode 8, also a lot of his other films as well always harper on from a bygone age of the 1950s, being radio was being broadcast then, and that was more or less hit the ground running from the 50s, 60s onwards with rock and roll. So radio was just really prominent within his life. I think he brought that through to say TV is the new massive medium now, of which he wants to show that. And what is it travelled on within these waves? And he loves the theatre as well. So everything what you're looking at is a piece of theatre, a piece of art. Like John was saying before, he transcends that by breaking that fourth wall and saying, this is you looking at yourself Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you're right in as far as the White Lodge, the good side, the Giant and all that lot exist in a bloody theatre, in a cinema with, and all the bad stuff happens with
TV, because that's
TV,
where
the tiny guy with his...
Well, you take out June, all of his experiences have been him being able to fulfill and express his own art. Whether writing, directing, or whatever. You take June out of the equation, he's always had a great time with film and cinema. TV, he's never had that experience because and I think this is why he comes back to Twin Peaks all the time and he can't leave it or could have left it. Was that they solved Laura Palmer's murder, and that was the one thing that he, and rightly so, didn't want to happen. Because it stopped the mystery.
That was something that would have never happened in 90s TV. The murder would have been solved within the episode, and we'd have another murder next week.
I mean, that's what they said, didn't they? When they got the synopsis of there's this murder, and it never gets solved, and it's just all about the characters and their interaction with this girl. Like you said, John, Magnum PI and all that, it'd have been solved in an hour, because that's what people want. But that's not what Twin Peaks or, Lynch and Frost at the beginning are about. Frost, I think, was a bit more... He'd done soap opera and things like that, so he knew how to work with studios on that base level of a soap opera, that he believed that the audience, and they did demand, they wanted the resolution to it, which obviously Lynch didn't believe him. And, in probably a good way. It happened, you went on to a different thing, with Cooper, and it became more of a soap opera and quirky and daft. Because I like with the cliffhangers and all that, became a a different show, but with characters like I've touched on a few times that you love. But then wrapped up with Lynch. Lynch wraps it up in that episode of just, because I got used to that the pacing and style of post Palmer. And then when you get that last episode, that's when I was like, fucking, this is what I remember Twin Peaks being like. The dwarf, the arm and the red room and the floor and craziness. But, and what I loved is I had no inclination whatsoever that Cooper was going to be Bob and nut that mirror. That really I was like, wow.
Right.
So that was lovely. Lovely. I'd never been spoilt on a 25-year-old TV show. Yeah.
Ian, for you, when did you watch Firewalk with Me? So you said, similar to me, we both watched season 1 and 2 when it came on. And Firewalk with Me was announced a few years later, or within a year, I can't remember actual time. But did you watch it more or less when it came out?
The absolute first day I could rent the video, I rented the video. I was still too young to get into the cinema when it was on. And it felt like it was on at the cinema for about one day. It did not do well. But yeah, I rented the film it was either 93 or 94, I think. I remember.
Right.
From the SO Garage, if anyone's interested, on Guildford Road. Shout out to them. They've gone now. It's been turned into flats. Yeah, I remember vividly watching it and thinking it was simultaneously brilliant and maddeningly frustrating, because you've got this 20 minutes start with a different FBI agent investigating a different crime. And at the time, the beauty of that and the cleverness of the point he's making about the interchangeability of things and the duality, but at the same time it's still the same story. That's lost on me, because all you want is, but Cooper is Bob, do show something with that. I mean, did you also watch it pretty much as soon as you could?
As soon as it came out, we had a dodgy video guy who came in a van, and I got it from probably. I got it from him and watched it upstairs in the bedroom with his brother, and I used to share the room. And he walked out because he'd had enough. He was like, "It's not showing any answers. There's no answers." I was like, "No, it's set before then." And he's like, "No, it's still no answers." To be honest, I didn't fully understand what was going on. I liked the fact that it's shown those days prior, so we get an understanding more of Laura. And it had, for me, I liked the darker side, and it got ripped to pieces in cans, etc. And we discussed this previously on the podcast, just simply because people was expecting what they'd seen before, the melodramas, and a bit lighter, and where's the slapstick and all that. Even though it does have that within the first 20 minutes, and Bob discussed that within our podcast on there as well. But it didn't have all the answers. It only made more sense after watching the whole of season 3, and then I rewatched Firewalk with Me, and I saw what he was trying to do. It was like he already had this idea of the story of what he was going to do in the future, and he wanted us to have the foundation for us to appreciate that.
Yeah, it really does feel like The Return grew out of Firewalk with Me much more than it grew out of Series 2 of Twin Peaks. And it does in some ways make it a really solid and coherent body of work. Just not on the most superficial, topmost narrative level, but in terms of the way you feel about it and the way it works intuitively and the way that everything balances and echoes and mirrors. It's just astonishing that back when he was making that film, he knew it was in his head. It was kind of the midpoint of the finished overall product, and that's when he threw that switch and changed gears the way he did. It's just incredible. Also, you saw Laura topless, which when I was 17 was quite good.
It was brilliant. I think a bit of that video jumped when I was
You must have got the copy that I took back 3 days later.
It's been pausing. It's been pausing.
I pretended it was the vertical hold, but they didn't want to see my vertical hold, and I knew
But I mean, to harken back to my current rewatch again so rapidly, I can't believe how many seeds are sown in the pilot, which go on throughout. Maybe apart from latterly into after the post Palmer, we'll call it. Post Laura Palmer murder being solved, but then come back into the third series and in Fire Walk With Me. The man is just. I would love even just an hour in his head to experience it, because not only does he have the vision of what he wants to see and what he wants the people to look like who he's going to cast, because when he casts just looking at someone, and that's pretty much it. But to topple that, the music, in Twin Peaks is fucking.
I mean, this is a whole
just mind-blowing.
It's a whole different podcast to talk about the music in Twin Peaks. But, I mean, I about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a friend who had never seen Twin Peaks, and this was kind of when the news that the show was coming back had just broken. And I said, "Oh, you've got to watch this now." And she was 10 years younger than me. She'd have been about, I don't know, late 20s when I forced her to watch Twin Peaks. And she said, "I just couldn't watch a second of it because there's just music all over it." And that's a kind of, in a Murray Gold kind of way, I guess. But that's just how TV is different now. And we maybe aren't used to that level of background music. But every tune and every segue and every, it was just, I mean, the music on its own is terrifying. There are some little kind of ominous rising notes in the background during scenes which are terrifying. That they did so much with, a few themes that there's never been a people wang on about Mozart being powerful. Balls to Mozart, I say. Badalamenti. Yeah. I say it specifically in the style of Alan Partridge. Badalamenti.
But I think as well, it's obviously the themes are amazing. Laura Palmer's theme, Audrey's dance, the theme tune itself. It's one of the only TV shows that I don't skip the theme tune because I just embrace it.
I stand to attention. I don't know what you guys are doing.
I almost always get goosebumps.
Yeah.
Don't know why. It's just nuts.
But
Laura's theme and the Twin Peaks theme every time.
But I think as well, it's the tension sounds in the background, which you do get moments of silence, then you get these tension vibrations or sounds. And I think I talked about it briefly in the Fire Walk With Me podcast. What he gets Angelo to do is record like 20 things of just 4 long drawn-in notes on a bassoon, violin, whatever, in a recorded package, gives them to Lynch, and Lynch just fucks around with them for background, tension.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing. It's just, and I don't think, because bear in mind, like we say, 1990s, 89, Twin Peaks, we haven't seen a soundscape of the tension element, of the soundscape, until modern film. Like
Mulholland Drive, he does that extremely well.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a Lynch thing. You don't see that in any other cinema or anything. That tension building audio. They do it now in modern cinema and things like that, but not back then. That was again groundbreaking. The reverse speaking, groundbreaking, because of the way the film did it. Made them speak backwards, put it forward, whatever, and it gives it this unique quality of just like, fuck, I can't even understand what they're saying. Even you got the subtitles and stuff.
Hold on, I've got Bob. Yeah, that means Bob is gay in backwards speech.
John, I've heard of
I did laugh. He'd kill you for saying that. I mean, he'd kill you for looking at him. Let's be honest.
Or slit. That's Let's Rock as well. I think talking about the sound, it's interesting, and I'd be interested to see or hear what your viewpoint on the last episode is as well, Ian. But in terms of that last episode, it's interesting. There is no ominous sounds. There is no background noise. There is no music at all through all that sort of scene. As soon as they cross across into Odessa, Texas kind of world.
And I think that goes back to the point you made about once he goes through the passage under the Great Northern, he's not in Twin Peaks anymore. So the program that he's in stops abiding by those rules that it.
Well, they're called different names, aren't they? Richard and Diane.
Richard and Linda.
Richard
and Linda.
Richard and Linda.
Yeah. Which is the name of my auntie and uncle. And then but it kind of just, as the lead Twin Peaks, it all just peters out. It's like it's just, well, that's it. We're done. It's all. we've lost the interest now because we've completed or we've given you some sort of resolution.
Oh,
now we're just sort of meandering.
Oh, like this is what you get when you get the resolution that you sought, which is 17. Is the resolution that everybody really wanted. It's like Agent Coops kicks Bob's ass and sends him back to the lodge.
Yeah.
But in episode 18, we're no longer in that world of Twin Peaks as per se.
Yeah.
But we're kind of more in our real world, where things aren't as clean cut. Everything's slightly seedy and awful, and people aren't who you are, and it's exactly the same. And like that's when he looks in Laura's house and sees that white horse, in Carrie Page's house, and he sees the white horse, and he sees like somebody that could be analogous to Bob. I mean, these aren't Twin Peaks; they are just like shadows of it. Yeah. And when Cooper looks at the white horse, it doesn't really mean anything to him anymore, because he will be aware of it because he's been on the lodge for 2 years. So the fact that that is a kind of like I'm picturing that place as a kind of, and I don't want to say pocket dimension, but pocket dimension created by the fireman in order to trap Judy, and Coop's mission was to go there and try and bring Laura in there, but it all broke and it didn't work.
Yeah.
So, but I think they just that scream ended that pocket universe. And we're back to whatever this infinite cycle, the Mobius strip of Twin Peaks that we have that already exists.
I sort of looked at it as in like, this is what happens when you've resolved the show.
Yeah,
it becomes this bland shit.
This is the punishment you get from having to resolve it.
And then like, he's and everyone's like going, what? This is the fucking last episode. Why is it just mulling at why is he called Richard? Why is she called Linda?
Why are we driving for 8 fucking minutes?
Why are we doing this? This is, but it's done. It's resolved. And this is what happens when you resolve something. Fuck all. Just bland whatever it is.
See, when you resolve something in totality, it just goes out. It finishes blank, and that's what we get at the end. So we've got a resolution, certainly. I don't think there'll ever be a series 4. I don't think there's any point in there being one.
No.
Unless it's the final big showdown between Cooper and Judy, which would be like, does it really need it?
Well, not only that, a lot of the actors have passed away as well.
Yeah, watching the return.
Everybody fucking died after it.
Every end of each episode was, this episode is dedicated to Frank Silva. This episode is dedicated to David Bowie. This is, and you're just watching your childhood dying before your eyes. I think the most egregious one, and Michael Onkeen obviously isn't dead, but when Sheriff Truman wouldn't come back for the return, that kind of really that was bad.
Yeah.
But it was nice that brought his brother back, and the actor was fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
It kind
of. But am I right in thinking he's dead now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Robert Foster's dead.
So
Margaret Lanteran, the log lady, she died. Albert died just after.
She died.
Albert
Bowie
died. Bowie
died.
one of the cops. Obviously, Bob died.
Bowie
in
died
95.
before it was broadcast. It's
there's no one left, and I agree with you. I think season 4 would be a complete disaster. Certainly in terms of the story. Whatever it does now,
we'd watch the fuck out.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. But for me, it's done. It's done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was done on episode 17. And
it
18
was done when One Punch Man with his little green rubber glove punched the Bob ball back into the hell mouth.
It's a clear Deus Ex Machina, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a clear Deus Ex Machina that like.
It's a Deus Ex fucking up.
This is a TV show. It's another trope of TV, where you've got the magical person with the appropriate tool to solve everything without having to actually solve anything.
Yeah.
And then we get a proper resolution of the entire. We'll get a resolution of the Twin Peaks sort of world in 17 and 18. We get a resolution of the Twin Peaks universe. Insofar as just lights go out.
I love that though. The guy with the green glove, the little Cockney guy, and his little chat with James, and the exposition of that, and
the awful rhyming slang. I was walking along and then you whistle, and there was a
But against stereotypical Cockney TV, he knows.
That's perfect.
He knows what he's doing. And it's kind of like I love it when when they have that Barbara, all that nasty fight reality TV shit, And then, like you're saying, the green glove of quick plot resolution.
Green
Fucking
glove of
bang,
plot
bang,
resolution.
and it's like, I really tried hard not to do it out properly.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But this is what I mean about, again, I'm coming back to the characters are fucking brilliant, and I love them. All of them. They're so well thought out, they're so like, I feel attachment to every single character.
Okay, quick question in passing then. You've got to spend 6 hours trapped in a bar with one character from the Twin Peaks universe. Who would you pick?
Yeah. Bad. Audrey. Young
Right,
Audrey.
you're not allowed to have sex with them, so...
Oh, God, that's hard.
Do you know what? I'd probably take Ike the Spike. I love Ike the Spike.
I thought you'd pick that, yeah.
I love a killer dwarf. It's amazing.
It would be fun. It'd be fun to spend 6 hours with Dougie Jones, wouldn't it?
I was going to go the opposite and go with Mr. C.
He'd kill him.
No, you couldn't trust him.
He'd
No.
kill him
Just-
with his bare hands.
But if he couldn't kill him as well, he couldn't kill me, then you'd have some cracking conversations. What has he been up to for 25 years?
Yeah.
Just listen to him.
Oh, Albert. I love Albert. I love Albert's entrance in the big, when he first comes in. You're like,
joke. Yeah.
he's a fucking dickhead. He's a right cunt. And then Coop sort of says to him, look, TV, fucking stop being horrible. This is people's lives and people's thing. And he brings him round. And Albert he comes from television to the film world, or the good world.
Yeah.
And he's great. He's a great actor. And I mean the director from Philadelphia, director Cole, David Lynch. God and Cole's are brilliant. I mean, everyone's just class in this. There's brilliant characters left, right, and centre.
And the only thing you can hear clearly is love.
Yeah.
And everything else is just, you can't hear it. He needs a machine to help him hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
lovely.
it's uncanny, isn't it?
I think the worst one would be Bobby. Would wind me up. I couldn't sit in a bar with him for 6 hours.
Oh,
But
I'll tell you
love
what
the
would be worse than
I-
Bobby, and that would be Donna. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine...
I think the worst overall would be the woman in the roadhouse scratching her armpit.
Oh,
That would
that's
be
right.
it. Just spend 6 hours with her without scratching her armpit and looking skanky.
I said Leo wouldn't be fun. I'd only take like full on, simple Leo rather than proper savage Leo.
Yeah.
But yeah, characters, man, they're just incredible.
So,
Incredible.
Ian, what is your opinion on what happened at the end of 18?
That they
Or what was happening in 18? More or less?
so they're in a parallel universe where Laura didn't get murdered, but she went missing. She ran away, and she's obviously subsequently had a breakdown, lost her memory. Cooper obviously jumped a groove to try and find her again, and now he's called Richard. He brings her back to Twin Peaks, but it's the wrong Twin Peaks, or it's a mirror doppelganger Twin Peaks. She doesn't recognise the house doesn't recognise her. They're basically, that story is kind of taken out of time, taken out of reality, and that, I guess, mirrors what he's trying to do with the show. He's saying it's run its course now. We've painted ourselves into such a corner that there is nowhere left for this to go. It just doesn't fit. This is the end.
Yeah.
I certainly get a conclusion from it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I tell you what, I took to the bar. The Minchin brothers, is it Minchin brothers, the two gangster dudes,
Minchin brothers,
who Dougie Jones again. He gets them to be. He makes everyone good and love him, and they're ace. I mean, to be fair, mainly because they'd have loads of money, great drinks, and it'd be a lot of fun to hang out with them guys.
It wouldn't be fun to hang out with Candy. I think she'd do you not in.
Oh
eventually.
my god, Jim Belushi's brilliant, and I also
Candy.
Yeah.
No?
I also love Jim
There's a
Belushi because
There's a brilliant YouTube vid of Jim Belushi talking to David Lynch, and he even turns around to him and says, "I don't know what's going on." But at first, if you look at David Lynch's face, it's like, is he taking a bit? And then I think he repeats it, Jim Belushi goes, "I don't know what's going on." Like, I've got a clue. And David Lynch's face is like, he's in his own world. Whatever he says, just play it out. Just play it out. Just keep it going. And he does the same, very similar to Mulholland Drive, what we've just recently seen. I don't think he tells people No. He just wants you for that moment to do that thing, and then that's it. And then he'll start out pulling the story together.
He famously doesn't explain anything. He absolutely for a reason. But he also, and he's confessed this as well, he doesn't explain to his script editors, he doesn't explain to his co-writers what his idea is. An idea can only really be true to him when it's not being explained to anybody else, and it's just his.
Well, we're saying this about his in Mulholland Drive as well. His missus or ex-missus, she's the editor for him, and she just edits something, for example, Mulholland Drive, 5 or 6 hours long. She kind of knows, not what he wants, but knows the canvas or the start of the canvas to start working from and cut it down from there. I mean, the man is an artist. He's something, like I say, I've never seen a David Lynch film in my life. So at the start on this journey, and it is a journey, I've never seen anything quite like it, and it makes a lot of other stuff just look like Quentin Tarantino, a load of fucking shit. By the way, we're not fans of Quentin Tarantino.
I noticed that. He speaks very highly of you too.
I'm not. I don't tar me with the same brush. I'm not thinking that. I think his stuff has got a place.
I think he made 3 very good films. I'm just not going to say which ones they are. So I'm fascinated to know, gentlemen, are you going to be watching Inland Empire?
Yes.
Yes.
That's our next one.
I cannot wait to hear the podcast of you guys trying to make sense of that.
There'll be a lot of research done afterwards. I will be YouTubing
There'll be a lot of
for
therapy
ages
needed.
afterwards.
There'll be a lot of questions. There'll be a lot of existential wailing.
I'm looking forward to that one because at the time as well, he was going through a divorce himself. And similar to like what John said, I think one of the reasons he doesn't tell people what the story is and what is about to happen, because I think he's still, he shoots from the hip. If he sees something at that moment which he wants to desire and change, he'll do it on the fly. I think that's probably another thing. He's shown that in Mulholland Drive. He has certain actors come back doing things which wasn't even in the script before. He changed things as he was. Eraserhead took him 6 years to complete. Blue Velvet, he had a different vision of that and then changed parts as he was going along as well. And I think that's one of the reasons he just likes to shoot from the hip. Sort of like when you're writing your novel, I've got a friend who's also an author, and he has a vision of what he wants to get out, and he also has a vision for the next few. Or he'll change that. However, if he gets so involved with this character, he'll start adding more parts in with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the key. Is the famous part where Frank Silver is seen in the edge of shot, or he's seen moving a wardrobe because he's a set hand or whatever they are. And Lynch just saw him and thought that would be really nice. And from then, just from that moment, he got the idea of what Bob was and how he would fit into the whole narrative.
Yeah, it's in the pilot.
Like Judy.
It's the mirror above Sarah Palmer's head, and you can see Bob in it. And from there, you get what to me is the best thing in the show is the idea of Bob. I mean, not the best thing, obviously. It's child abuse, and in many ways that's bad. But I think the most iconographic element from the show is the idea of Bob. This kind of, he's like a spider, you spot him and you're like, oh, and you can't move and he's not going to move, and it's like, oh, fuck. It's so
and then he'll rush at you.
And that is, as you say, that's David Lynch just seeing something and thinking, I'll have that. And
well, Judy's the same, because Judy's a little throwaway line that Philip Jeffries talks about. And there was some talk behind the scenes of that Judy was going to be Josie's sister as part of the plot, but that never panned. But something must have clicked with Lynch, where he thought, "Well, put that in if I Walk with Me." I'm not sure where it might lead, but then he develops on that idea, and the whole of season 3, all that stuff is almost like part of rooted in that little throwaway comment where he mentioned Judy and he's found a resolution. Like that part in If I Walk With Me where Laura screams at nothing in the woods, and 25 years later or whatever, he goes and fixes it. And that wasn't part of the plan when he did that. He just gives himself, he has an idea, and he's not certain where it's going, but he thinks it would be interesting, it could seed something else, and he'll go with it. It's like adaptability, isn't it? It's not. He didn't go at the start of Twin Peaks. He didn't say, right, we're going to have that and that and that. that will be Bob, and Bob will be this, and then we'll have this room. And all of it is just stuff that occurs to him that he manages to work on and find ideas with.
One thing that blew my mind on my rewatch of the pilot after I'd seen it all was Renetta. You know, after watching Fire Walk with Me, it's someone I didn't really think of when I watched the pilot first time. You know, because she's the girl that got away.
Yeah.
Because and then they got the whole angel thing that's coming back again, and it's just that when I saw her walking down the thing, I was like, "Fuck, that's her from the part in Fire Walk Me when they were getting, you know, raped or whatever by Jacques and Leo." And again just blew my mind. Like, fucking hell, it's coming full circle. Full circles, infinity. Keeps harping back all the time.
Yeah. I think that's the whole thing about Twin Peaks. We're probably coming to the end of the pod now, but it's one which you can watch and watch again. And I'm sure we might have triggered a few things for you, Ian, to think, you know what, I'm going to give season 3 a go again.
I just have, actually. I watched it about a month ago. Totally on the out of the blue. I just thought, you know what, and I'll tell you why. Because I obviously watched it as soon as it was on TV. Like I was awake at 3 a.m. waiting for the first 2 episodes, and every week I'd watch it.
I used to get up early an hour early for work and watch it to work because it come across from America.
Yeah. Now I've waited 25 years for this show. I watched it as soon as I possibly could. But two and a half years later, whenever people ask me, "Did you like The Return?" I didn't have an answer. I didn't know. I couldn't ultimately decide if I was yay or nay about it. So when I watched it again recently, I was trying to work out, you know, what do I actually think about this? Now, I want to go back and watch all of it again, obviously. And I haven't watched seasons 1 and 2 for about, well, it was 2016. I watched them getting ready for the show coming back.
Yeah.
And that's the longest I've ever been without rewatching it now. That's nearly 5 years. I mean, I've watched it pretty much every year or every 18 months ever since it was on TV. So, you guys have got some catching up to do. I'm looking at you, Fleming.
And you've been to the place as well.
I have.
Yes, we're going to say. Yeah.
I went for a little visit a couple of years ago, and it was the best week of my life. I got, you know, photos of me at the waterfall at the back of the Great Northern, and went to the Real Double R Diner, and it was a fanboy kind of pilgrimage to go to these places that I've been looking at on my screen for, let's say, 30 years now. You know, it's just amazing.
That'd be beautiful.
It was
that massive log's still there as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
The one that Laura was beside.
Caged up, apparently. So Twin Peaks fans can't animalise it or something. Same as the mill. What's left of the mill? That's there apparently, isn't it? Still,
I believe so.
That's sort of caged up.
Definitely one. So do you want a one roundup, Bob? John, do you want to say?
Well, I was going to say my roundup would be, you know, listening to you guys. I think particularly Ian and Shep, because like you were saying before, John, you watched the initial thing, but you weren't that bothered.
Yeah.
Until you rewatched it with season 3 in quite quick succession, similar to what I've done. I just love the fact that you've got this affinity with this TV show, which is incredibly special. And then what I particularly love about David Lynch in general and what we're doing with the Lynch Mob and things like that is a connection that you get with this TV show.
Yeah.
Because with some TV shows, you get this whole thing of like, it's mine, and you've just come on board and you don't know how, you know, like it's, whereas with Lynch, it's like, what do you think, Bob? Because you've just come at it for the first time. What do you think of this? And I love this sort of just debate and exception, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place to be, man. You know, and it's just, I love the fact it makes me think.
Yeah.
I'm not just watching television. You know, it's and that's I suppose that's really the point of it, isn't it? But not just Twin Peaks, the whole Lynchian thing I'm getting on board with. I've never seen anything like this in my life. It's great.
Well, you get that kind of, like you say, when you join some fandoms or you try to catch up, they're very precious about the fact that they know what's going on.
Yeah.
And you and your predictions and your thoughts are, we've already looked at that and thought of that. But the Twin Peaks, nobody still knows what the fuck is really going on. Yeah. So everybody's in the same boat. It's a very inclusive fandom, and it inspires. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have met up with you guys to do Twin Peaks had it been a shit TV show.
But I think as well, like we did Fire Walk Me before I'd watched season 3. And now thinking back to like what I was saying in that podcast, I wasn't wrong, but like I could put a lot more to it now after watching season 3 because it's a massive part of Fire Walk With Me, and well, Twin Peaks in general. But yeah, it's just I love that about a TV show where you don't argue, you get accepted. You know, as long as you've got like, you come at it anywhere you want, the base level, loads of crazy theories. It don't matter. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's the debate, and it's a conversation, and it's something that challenges the mind, which I always think is a beautiful thing. So it's great. It's a positive thing if people can, if it's accepting and things like that with people.
I think the way to look at it, it's like a symphony. You know, I don't know what Beethoven's Fifth is about, in the same way that I don't know what Twin Peaks is about, but I know it's a great piece of art, and I will keep watching it whenever the hell I want because it gives me all the feels. So when fandoms get precious about their show, they can largely, take a short walk off a long pier. But
I think the word, I think the phrase is "fuck off." That's what they should do.
Yes, you're right. Actually, yes, they
think they should fuck off.
Twin Peaks is only going to get better the more you watch it and more rewarding. Yeah. And that cherry pie is going to get deeper and more fruity.
Yeah. And it literally, pilot, I've found another 4 layers at least in that cherry pie.
Most definitely. And I think the more we watch, the more we continue this journey as the Lynch Mob, and we, invest our time into these films. We said only last a couple of weeks ago that you cannot just watch a David Lynch film once. To do a review and analysis about it, you're watching it multiple times, and then you're coming on the pod and still walking away with a ton of other theories from other people as well. And however far we get within the Lynch Mob, we could just do the whole of his films, 10 or 11 films he's done, and probably start again with a whole new series of theories. And I think that's the appreciation of David Lynch, and that this as well cascades into his epic, which is Twin Peaks.
It's a piece of art, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, like any piece of art, it can be interpreted entirely as you wish.
Yeah.
It's not an instruction booklet. It's not your fucking Haynes manual that you can just read and empirically understand. So as a lot of TV is like that, you can understand it because they don't want to give you any ambiguity because people are fickle and we're thick generally. So when you get something that is particularly engaging and has these extra layers and engages with the art part of your mind rather than just the analytical story narrative progression thing, then what you get out of it is so much more richer and so much more personal. And I think that's the legacy that Twin Peaks has left with me.
But like a piece of art, like a painting, like a piece of music, and all them things, I can listen to a song 1 hour and something's happened in my life, my mood's changed, and I'll get a different feeling from it. Yeah. The same with looking at a piece of art. And that's the beauty of Twin Peaks. I feel like I'm watching a brand new TV show already, going back and watching it after I've just intently watched it over 6 weeks or whatever it is.
I think we've come to the end of the pod. So I'm going to say goodbye to my co-hosts of John and Bob and the special guest, which I hope he comes back on again, Iain.
Absolutely. You guys give me a call anytime.
Brilliant. We will be ringing you then. 2 o'clock in the morning, like, have you understood what's going on?
Fucking hell, have you seen that?
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Lynched.